Okay, let's get into it. All right. So, we're going to be talking about the illegal migrant that was arrested for unaliving a woman on the New York City subway train through arson, and how Elon Musk is screwing everyone over, and how low income Trump voters are actually trying to count on Trump to protect their welfare benefits. Can't make this up. Hard Talk Radio, live in 4K.
Homicide detective and Fox News contributor, and Jonathan Fahey, former acting ICE director and former DHS deputy assistant secretary. Thank you both, Ted and Jonathan, for being here. I want to start with you, Ted, just given your experience, because there is this video that is circulating on X and gaining a lot of attention. It shows this woman standing up, fully engulfed in flames, as officers walk by on their radios and don't do anything to intervene and put out the flames. The video cuts off at a minute, the 1 minute mark. But it is pretty disturbing. So what is the protocol, Ted, for responding to an incident like this as a police officer? Should those cops have taken off their jackets and tried to smother the fire? I mean, what is the protocol?
Well, the protocol when you arrive on the scene of an unfortunate incident is to do any and everything you possibly can to save the victim's life or to help the victim. I'm sure that there are going to be an investigation to try to determine if law enforcement and other individuals, first responders, when they arrived on that scene, if they did everything possible to help that victim.
You know, Jonathan, I want to get to you because given what Ted said, I mean, obviously conditions are tougher than ever for police to do their jobs, and they have very.
What is a police officer supposed to do with flames? That car was engulfed in flames. What is he supposed to do? Put his literal hand on the burn victim and burn himself and scar himself? That's a job that's out of his wheelhouse. He needs to call FDNY. Okay? Cops are not superheroes. Just like FDNY, you know, if they're dealing with a armed gunman that's preventing them from going into a burning house to rescue people, they got to call NYPD. Common sense.
Tough jobs. So this gets to the issue of prevention. And ICE put out a report last week. It showed about a third of people who were removed from the country had criminal histories. I want to pull this up on your screen. More than 16,000 in fiscal year 24 with sexual assaults and sex offenses, 2,600 homicides, nearly 2,500 kidnappings, and 237 known or suspected terrorists.
That's what I'm talking. All right. And this is what I'm talking about. Okay. These migrants that are coming over here illegally. And the illegal migrant who, you know, he was illegal from Guatemala. Okay. So, what's going on here? All right. That's the issue. And you can't say this is just a Democrat problem. This guy was here since 2018. All right. So that's around the Trump era. So that's the thing. And we all know that Republicans and Democrats benefit from illegals. All right. And the things what I can never understand is like Democrats who want to be, I could tell on the far left, they think that it's okay to have illegals here. No. And this is the stuff that's been happening. Sex assaults. Okay. We had one happen in New York. An illegal made a little noose and put it on a woman, dragged her behind a car, and you know what happened. We've had women being murdered down south. So all these people that are for illegal migrants, what if that was to happen to your loved one? Would you still be for illegal migrants?
This suspect, Jonathan, received a transit summons in May of 2023. Is that at all an indicator that law enforcement should be paying attention to, that he could have been a danger to society? I mean, is that something that people should track more closely?
Well, one thing they should have been able to find out when they issued the transit summons that he had been deported before, which means by coming back in, he was in violation of federal law, specifically Title 8 United States Code.
If he was deported, why is he back here?
1326, which is a felony. So he should have been arrested once they found him. They should have run his record and done that. But of course, as Director Homan was talking about earlier, they're a sanctuary city, and that's the problem here. I mean, this is a horrible incident, and the person that did it should be held responsible. But we should certainly look at the public policy surrounding this as to what could have been prevented. And if New York City and this administration, if this administration didn't have its open borders policy and New York didn't have its sanctuary cities policy, there would have been less of a draw for this person to come in, and they could have also deported him, arrested him when he was caught by New York City Transit. So
the thing is, though, you just gotta modify the sanctuary city policies. You can't come over here if you've been deported. We have to know your background. We have to know where you come from. What are your diseases? If you have diseases, cure or incurable, stuff like that.
There are policies that could have been implemented and that will be implemented so things like this won't happen, or they'll be less likely to happen. And just on Ted's point, I think it's unfortunate that people didn't help. I don't know what they should have done, but I am concerned about this Daniel.
How are people going to help when a New York City subway car is engulfed in flames and there's no water? There's no water. What are they gonna do?
Penny effect, the Ferguson effect is what it's been called before, that deters people from trying to help other people because they're afraid of consequences from being involved. I don't know if that was at play here, but it's certainly something that should be talked about.
Yeah,
I mean, why are you going to get cops prosecuted now? Yeah, it is unfortunate with the Daniel Penny effect, because you're trying to say that people can't do their civic duty to protect their fellow human beings. Okay, it's sad, and it's really ignorant that you have some blacks and some whites who think that Daniel Penny was in the wrong from protecting subway passengers from Jordan Neely. Jordan Neely had been arrested over 40 times, and he was arrested for trying to kidnap a 7-year-old girl. See what he had PDF file tendencies. Okay. We had Jordan Williams, who was protecting his girlfriend from a homeless man who slapped her in the face on the J train. Okay, and he defended his girlfriend. So you're telling me people can't defend their loved ones now? This is crazy. People are going to have to protect their loved ones. Things have to change in New York City. Things have to change. Don't let these illegal migrants or these mentally ill homeless people try to harm you and your family. Do not let it happen.
Cops getting prosecuted for doing their jobs, obviously a big fear and an issue with retaining officers.
And that's the thing. Why should NYPD want to do their jobs? Why should anybody want to be cops now? Why would I want to be a cop if I can't protect myself? Okay. So let's talk about Führer Musk. Let's talk about that. Because that's what's basically happening here. That's exactly what's happening here. because people tend to forget about Elon Musk helping Ukraine and what he said about, you know, the Azov Battalion. And if you don't know, the Azov Battalion are neo-Nazis in Ukraine. They make up most of Ukraine's military now. And Elon said, Nazi is not the word you think it means. And we all know Elon is not that bright, and he's hoping for you also not to be that bright. Let's hear where he went to go and who did he support?
This is going to be stunning. Elon Musk flew under the radar and headed off to Germany to extend his support in person to the far right-wing party that he is backing to gain power in the new German elections. We know how big a fan Elon is of jumping around on stage. I had no idea he was this flexible.
It's article time. That's right. It's time to flex those brain cells. One moment. Here we go. Should be showing up right now. Here we are. Elon Musk backs Germany's far-right party ahead of election. Right. Only the AfD can save Germany, the tech billionaire wrote on X. Elon Musk waded into Germany's election on Friday, expressing his support for far-right, anti-immigrant, anti-Islam party that's being monitored by the country's domestic intelligence agency. I will be for, I am also, I'm anti-illegal immigrant, and I am definitely anti-Islam for its anti-black roots. Only the AfD can save Germany, the tech billionaire wrote on X, referring to the alternative for a German party. The German government declined to comment at its regular press conference on Friday. Europe's most populous country is expected to vote on February 23rd. On Monday, Chancellor Olaf Scholz, center-left coalition government collapsed after he lost confidence vote. It is only the sixth time such a vote has been called in the country of 83 million people, Europe's largest economy. It was required because in post-World War II Germany, the constitution does not allow the Bundestag or parliament to dissolve itself. Scholz expected to lose the vote, but had hoped it would boost the fortunes of his center-left Social Democrat Party, SDP, which had formed a fractionist coalition government with the pro-market Free Democrats and the Environmental Green Party. Before calling the vote, Scholz accused Christian Lindner, his finance minister and Free Democrats member, of violating his trust after he publicly backed a different economic policy than the one they had agreed upon. While mainstream parties have traditionally boycotted the AfD, meaning they will not form governing coalitions with the movement, the party is running second in opinion polls, according to Reuters, and might be able to thwart a center-right or center-left majority. Founded in April 2013 as a movement against euro currency, the AfD had shifted its focus on combating Islam and immigration and has grown in popularity at both local and national levels ever since, particularly in the former East Germany, which has lagged economically behind the west of the country. See, that's the thing. I think, the fact of just allowing Muslim migrants into the country, especially in London, that it was purposed by design to get the far right in there, to get the Nazis in there, so they could spew their racism and their rhetoric and make Germany the way it was back in the times of Adolf Hitler. Okay. I mean, it was done on purpose. You know how many years they've laxed in trying to curb the immigration problem, the illegal immigration problem, how to curb the what was going on there with the Muslim migrants. Okay, they let their own people be brutalized and harmed and deleted, having to have no-go zones, which was going to give a rise to far-right neo-Nazi beliefs. In September, it became the first far-right party to win the most votes in a state election since the Nazi era, when it triumphed in Darninga. The win came despite a string of controversies linked to its leadership. The party is monitored by the country's domestic intelligence agency for suspected extremism. Party leader Bejon Hock has twice been found guilty by a German court of purposely employing Nazi rhetoric. He has appealed the rulings. And in May, the party's top candidate, Maximilian Krah, was forced to withdraw from campaigning after he told an Italian newspaper that the SS, the Nazis' main paramilitary force, were not all criminals. One of his aides was also charged with spying for China, and another candidate faced allegations of receiving bribes from pro-Russian news portal. Musk has also voiced support for the AfD last year when he criticized the German government over its handling of illegal immigration. The Tesla and SpaceX CEO, who has been tasked by President-elect Donald Trump with co-leading a commission called the Department of Government Agency, DOGE, also called for the sacking of Italian judges who had questioned the legality of the government measures to prevent irregular immigration. He has also clashed with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer earlier this year after he labeled Britain a tyrannical police state and endorsed calls for a new election. It's all by design, folks. This could have been handled years ago. This could have been handled years when A$AP Rocky was dealing with his problems with the illegal Muslim migrant situation. If we remember, A$AP Rocky was being followed a couple of blocks by two Muslim illegal migrants. Okay. And it was in Sweden. And he told them to back off, but they harassed him because in Islam is very anti-black and you are looked on very lowly, okay, in Islam, okay? And they harassed him. Now a fight broke out in self-defense, and it took Trump to get him out of prison, all right? They could have handled it way back then, but they didn't because they wanted to let it stew so they could create, allow chaos to be there so they could come in with their order. All right. Now let's talk about here. Yes, we're going to talk about sorry. 1 second. Yeah, here we go. We're going to be talking about Elon Musk again. Talking about what he plans to do with SpaceX. Here we go.
Puts one of the deadliest cars out. I'm sure this is going to work out great. Same guy who puts one of the deadliest cars out on the road with poor attention to detail and poor quality control is now going to be creating a company town to house all of his employees. And what do you think is going to be the level of attention that's going to be paid to environmental considerations, safe housing, food, water, any of that stuff? Do you think he's really going to give a crap, or is he just going to create a glorified sweatshop and keep his employees captive so that they can keep cranking out substandard widgets that...
You forgot about the radiation too in the cars. There's also been reports of radiation in these Tesla cars. For those of you who don't know what a company town is, a company town is basically, let's take the battery company Duracell, right? So Duracell has a town, all right? You have Duracell churches, you got Duracell apartments, you have Duracell everything, right? Now here's the thing. Everything's sweet and good. But if you get fired, you're kicked out of that town. All right, that's it. You live in, let's say, the Bronx, right? The Bronx is, let's say the Bronx is totally taken over by Elon. If you get fired, you have to leave the Bronx. Just saying. That's what it's like living in a company town. And company towns had a very horrible conditions to live in. And he's right. It is like a big giant sweatshop. Not to mention the fact that with Elon Musk's Tesla company, there's been lots of reports of a toxic work environment, especially if you're Black, and violence and extreme racism. All right. So this will be, people think that he is the greatest thing on earth. All right. Now, if he has if the cars are made, taking shortcuts, and basically you're in a death trap. Imagine, like I said, if you don't imagine what it's like living in a company town. If he doesn't take the proper precautions to have a car made with, safety measures, make sure it drives properly, it's not a death trap, then you can't expect him, to make you a good place to live. You can't. And unfortunately, that is what's going to happen. And I don't get how people are just praising Elon Musk just because he has money. There are a lot of evil people in the world who have money. And they were known to treat people around them horribly. I'm just saying. Here's another thing too.
I can solve the budget issues that the United States is facing in less than 60 seconds. If we want to fund things like pediatric...
Look at all the stuff this dude owns. SpaceX, Tesla, the Boring Company, Neuralink, XAI, X, formerly known as Twitter, the Musk Foundation, Zip2, PayPal, OpenAI, Solar City. Okay. SpaceX, 150 billion. Tesla, 70.2 billion. The Boring Company, 5.7 billion. Neuralink, 5 billion. XAI, don't know how much. Twitter, now X, 15 billion. The Musk Foundation, 9.4 billion. PayPal, was it 1.5 billion? He owns all of this stuff. He could help solve the homeless problem instead of saying being homeless is a lie and propaganda. Many of these billionaires could solve the problems we have here in this country. But they want to hoard everything. They want to cut Social Security. They want to cut Department of Education. They just want to be parasites to the working class people.
Pediatric cancer research, make sure small family...
They want to cut cancer research. They want to cut research into sickle cell. All right. And you know who suffers from sickle cell the most? The demographic that suffers from it the most? It's Black people. Okay. Cervical cancer, Black women suffer from that.
farms are given what they need to survive, make sure our veterans are taken care of, make sure the homeless is taken care of. Here's what we need to do. These are all the companies that Elon Musk owns, and billionaires like him own several other companies. They've never paid their fair share. You want to balance the budget and be more fiscally responsible? Cut off every single piece of corporate subsidy that goes to these companies, and we will have a balanced budget. If you want to solve this problem, this is what needs to be done. Stop giving billionaires welfare. Billionaires.
Basically what it is. It's these people get tax breaks. All right. Talk about welfare and criticizing the poor living off the government when they're doing that. Who's the parasite here? Who's really the parasite? Start to understand things. Insane, man. It's just utterly insane. It feels like you're living in almost The Handmaid's Tale, and soon will be The Walking Dead. That's what it feels like. Okay? Really feels that way. And of course, leopards are eating faces.
We have some really big news right now. MAGA is turning on Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, and others who are a part of Doge, and there is a major rift occurring right now. The debate is over H-1B visas, which grants employers the ability to hire foreign workers temporarily for highly skilled positions. And a number of tech companies, including Tesla and others, hire foreign workers from India and elsewhere for engineering jobs. And now MAGA influencers online think that Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, and others are going to expand the number of H-1B visas in America, and they're upset. They're mad. In fact,
but Musk was always talking about against immigrants. Okay. He was always talking against that. He was always talking for white supremacy. And Vivek is not going to do anything because he wants to suck up to white supremacy. He wants to be their underling. He doesn't have a problem being a model minority, which is, just code word for someone that, you're a well domesticated pet. It's basically what it is. And when he was with interviewing Ann Coulter was saying, well, I guess I could say you're one of the good ones because you're not black. Vivek was laughing. But then when Ann Coulter said, well, the reason, let me just be honest with you, Vivek, I won't vote for you as president because you're Indian. His facial expression went from laughter to just dropping. He couldn't rage out. He couldn't give her a piece of his mind, because he's ran on the Republican narrative that racism don't exist, that all lives matter, when that is a lie.
In fact, Laura Loomer, one of Donald Trump's top allies on Twitter, says, quote, there is a divorce coming, likely referring to Doge and Elon Musk and Donald Trump and MAGA. Because at the end of the day, MAGA influencers don't want any more immigration, whether it's coming from South America, or from India, or from...
Here's the problem with that. Who is going to pay? Who's going to work those fields? Who's going to pick the vegetables and the fruits? Who's going to tend to the cattle? Who's going to milk the cows? Who's going to work these jobs that Americans will not, put up with the pay that they're getting, minimum, barely livable wages? Who's going to work those fields? Who's going to do their work? I just want to know. In Texas, people are freaking out. Construction companies are freaking out because who is going to be there for the manual labor to build those houses? Who's going to be doing that? Just want to know. Who is going to be doing that? This country has lived off the blood of illegal immigrants working these type of jobs for decades.
Anywhere they want Americans working these jobs. But Elon Musk and Ramaswamy are trying to explain, hey, we need immigrants to do critical jobs. This online discourse between MAGA and Musk is growing more and more and fast, to the point where we may see a political fallout for Trump as a result of it.
Leopards stay eating those faces, man. Just saying. They having a ball, just a feast. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. Give me a minute. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, we're back. Sorry about those difficulties. All right, we're back. So now we're going to have a Republican basically just putting words in Trump's mouth when saying he's not putting words in Trump's mouth.
He doesn't say he wants to do that. He's specifically said, I don't want to deal with Social Security and I don't want to deal with Medicare, which are the two things you have to deal with to, in your words, be responsible and be serious.
Well, I think what the president means, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think and I agree that you don't want to touch benefits that people are reliant upon. But there's a lot of things you can do in Medicare and Social Security to deal with driving down the prices of healthcare. I've got legislation, for example, to empower people with health savings accounts, move the locust.
That's what you got. What does Trump have? Trump is about to cut Medicare. Elon Musk wants to cut that. Whatever Elon Musk wants, Trump wants.
Focus of power away from insurance companies and pharma and hospitals to patients and doctors. That would drive down prices of Medicare. We have lots of reforms. The president's Office of Management and Budget Director, Russ Vought, put forward a budget in the private sector that would have.
Russ Vought is for Project 2025. Okay. Project 2025 wants to cut public assistance. Okay. Why would you want to? But, you know, a lot of Republican voters, people who voted for Trump, they don't care. Okay. He wants to basically burn everything to the ground, taking them with them. They don't care. That's why I assume it's because of just being white. They voted for him just because he's white. And he's going to make America the way they want it.
Gone through and done a lot of reforming to Medicaid and Medicare. We can do a lot of stuff without touching benefits. And that's what we would do in addition to getting rid of the student loan fiasco, getting rid of the Inflation Reduction Act nonsense, doing what we need to do to cut spending, return non-defense.
Trump doesn't want to do that. That's the thing. You're putting words in his mouth. And let's read this article here. That talks about low-income voters are trying to bank on Trump. Let me read it to you. Low-income voters fear Trump may slash benefits. You think? New York, December 26. Low-income Americans who voted for Donald Trump say they are counting on him to keep their benefits intact, even while his cabinet picks and Republican lawmakers call on him to reduce federal spending, reported Washington Post on Thursday. 50% of the voters from families with low income of less than $50,000 a year cast their ballots for Trump, according to census data, compared with the 48% of Vice President Kamala Harris 4 years ago. Biden carried those voters by 11 percentage points. Hillary Clinton won them by 12 points in 2016 and Barack Obama by 22 points in 2012. Americans of all backgrounds elected President Trump because of his plans to lower costs and the financial drain of illegal immigrants on our healthcare system and ensure that our country can continue to care for American citizens who rely on Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, said Ann Kelly, a spokeswoman for his transition team. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, whom Trump has chosen to lead a non-governmental advisory panel, the Department of Government Efficiency, have said they want to trim $2 trillion from the government's annual budget and cut that some experts say could be accomplished only by slashing entitlement programs, noted the report. Trump's pick for White House budget director was a key architect of Project 2025. I just said that. A plan drawn up by conservatives to guide his second term that calls for steep cuts to programs such as food stamps. And GOP leaders in Congress and Trump advisors are considering significant changes to Medicaid, food stamps, and other federal aid. Lepers eating your faces. Oh, you have to laugh to deal with the pain, man. Woo. Oh man. Oh, this is woo. Oh, but you know, the pain keeps coming, man. The pain keeps on coming. Oh boy. Don't believe me? Let's see how Trump treated the FDNY union workers.
Calling on the administration that's coming in. We're calling on the senators and Congress people that have made their promises to honor what everyone has said, to never forget.
New York City Fire Department unions are calling for the restoration of funding to the James Zadroga 9/11 Health and Compensation Act after it was left out of Congress's funding on Friday. The act guarantees medical treatment for first responders, firefighters, and survivors who helped with the recovery efforts following the World Trade Center attack. It also provides financial compensation for those who suffered injuries, illnesses, or death as a result.
Fire unions livid as funding for 9/11 health fund excluded from the federal budget, funds in jeopardy. Fire unions and advocates are calling out Congress for failing to secure the funding for the 9/11 victims healthcare program after their agreement to keep the government open. Budget negotiations in Congress have resulted in the failure to fund the WTC healthcare program, which provides financial aid to 125,000 people who became ill years after coming in contact with toxins at disaster sites in New York, the Pentagon, and Shakespeare, Pennsylvania. The James Zadroga 9/11 Health and Compensation Act passed in 2010 was reauthorized in 2015, and up until days ago was thought to be permanently funded until the end of the planned end of the program in the year 2090. The bill was passed and reauthorized with bipartisan support. Now, due to budget negotiations in Congress, the program funding is at risk. There are thousands of New York City firefighters and other people related to the cleanup that have been diagnosed with cancer, and numbers will continue to rise with no end in sight, said James Pearlsey, president of the Uniformed Fire Officers Association, in the press release. We continue to lose NYC firefighters to 9/11 related illnesses every month, and the need for funds to care for the sick and dying continues. We call on Congress to act and to pass the permanent funding for the WTC healthcare program. Uniformed Firefighters Association President Andrew Aswell wrote in the press release. Governor Kathy Hochul is also livid at the disheartening development. Never forget aren't just words in New York, they are a promise. One that at House GOP broke tonight when they cut the health care for 9/11 first responders from the government funding bill. New York governor wrote on X, get back into Capitol and do your job. A spokesperson for Senator Schumer, who helped secure the permanent funding for the program, said Chuck will keep fighting for the heroes of 9/11. Chuck will work to find another opportunity to get it done, and ideally that will be an effort Republican members of Congress will work on with him. Spokesperson said, adding that President Trump and Elon Musk are to blame for the impending threat to the program. Lepers eating your faces. Advocates are also sounding off about the need for heroes being forced to beg the federal government for financial obligations that have already been promised. First responders who have suffered serious and life-threatening injuries and illnesses by reason of their exposure to toxins at ground zero should not have to walk the halls of Congress hat in hand to ensure that there is adequate funding for the medical treatment promised to them by the federal government. Nicholas Papson, Esquire, a 9/11 victims advocate, said in the press release. Several FDNY unions and members of the department will hold an emergency press conference Sunday at 124 Liberty Street, the fire adjacent to the World Trade Center. The firehouse adjacent to the World Trade Center. People thought that this wasn't going to happen. Okay, you thought this was a joke. People keep treating these parties like sports teams instead of actually holding their feet to the fire and making sure they deliver on what they promise. And if they don't, you vote them out the next election, or you just don't play the game at all. And that's what it really is by now. I think by now everybody should know that this is just one big sick game. And now we're in the end game. And the fact of the matter that Trump will make sure that he is not going to be kicked out of office. He already said he's going to be a dictator. Project 2025 is going to make sure that happens. Okay. And who knows? Trump may not be around, and it may be Elon Musk that will be leading the charge. The way things are going. Okay. The way things are going is it's not looking good. But that's about it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Anything you want to know about this channel is in the description box. I'm also on Rumble. My Rumble link is in the description box. There's also Radical Thought 791. You can check me out there. You can check me out on BitChute, Hard Talk Radio live in 4K. All right. I'm there also. I'm on Twitter, Hard Talk Radio. All right. Live in 4K. You can also check me out on Blue Sky. All right. Those are the places you could check me out, especially here on YouTube, because I think, I don't know if I'm going to have my TikTok. You can check me out on TikTok there as well. And that's about it. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Okay. Get this information out. So you're not just the only one who knows about this. Stock up on food, water, means to protect your loved ones. Food, water, supplies. Okay. Everything the mainstream media says, don't stop panic buying. Anything they tell you, do the opposite. Okay. Do the exact opposite. Hit that Costco up. Hit up all those places to buy in bulk. You have on the TikTok shop, there are guides to be able to build things for your survival, plants and herbs to eat. All right. TikTok is a wonderful place of information, even to find out about how to grow food indoors. Okay. It's not a game, people. It's not a game. These tariffs can't start kicking in. All right. We are not going to be in a good place, no matter what. Excuse me. Trump has to tell you. All right. Okay. Peace.